All right, well, I've done it again. Found another flip. I think this one is going to be pretty profitable. I went to searching on OfferUp for cars under $1,000. I figured, you know what, like, why not flip a car that anybody can grab, you know, with pocket change, try to fix it as cheaply as possible, make the most money possible. So for our third flip here, so I bought a 2006 Pontiac G6. This is a pretty interesting car. It's a 6-speed manual transmission. You can see, and there's obviously some issues here. He's got the cluster, the center console all taken apart, but it's a 6-speed manual with about 120,000 miles or so, but very clean overall. I got this. He was asking $800. I bought it for $500. So what the hell? How can I go wrong? It basically, he said one day he was trying to put it in reverse and the gear shifter stopped working and he gave up. So overall, pretty clean. $500 flip. Let's go. All right, got the battery hooked up. The shift linkage is still acting a little strange, but I got it in neutral, so let's try to crank this thing and see how it sounds. All right, she starts. Let's see. All right, definitely idle's rough. Doesn't sound terrible. Let's see. Noisy power steering. Definitely idle and rough. You can see the engine kind of shaking. Sounds almost like we got a misfire. Maybe even a vacuum leak. So this is a good sign. Alright, we'll go ahead and kill it. Well, that's a good sign. Now we can get started taking the shifter out and see how it looks. So I got these all these bolts undone on there. Kind of hard to grab those. So I got the magnet. Take these bolts out and these nuts. Let's disconnect these shift cables. Let's see what this looks like. It's odd. Oh, there it is. So it's supposed to clip at that point. Oh, there's a nut there that came off. Right there, look. If you look closely, there's a threaded piece. And it's just slipping. So it's not even pushing the shift lever. Oh my God, wouldn't that be funny if that's all it needs? I did some digging. When I shift the shifter, it looks like it's pulling that cable back and forth, right? But if you look, right, that should be all the way back. That should be all the way forward. But if you go under the hood, it's not moving under here. You would hear it clicking that shifter. Right there, see? We have a broken cable. So that's good. At least we know what it is. New shifter cable time. I'll pull this out. You can see it. Look, it broke right at the end. Right where the metal sleeve meets the braided end. There we go. All right, so let's see. So what I did was I got a piece of wood and I cut a groove in it so you can see that. And I put some staples in to line the cable up with each other. I'll make sure the staples are perfectly aligned so these two are in line with each other. And I'll hit it with a tack weld and see if it holds. This is probably not going to work, but it's worth a try because these cables are non-existent. Don't set the wood on fire. Alright, so I just removed that lever. I'm going to zip tie that piece back or tighten up the console now. And I think we might be back in business. I physically have reverse now. as well as all 6 gears. Show you just 1 second. Let's tighten down a couple of these. We got let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and up and reverse. So we good. Let's go take it for a test drive and make sure it actually works. The other thing I noticed was, as I was down in here, that rear motor mount, transmission mount is shot. You can't really see it. See if I can focus on it a little bit, but the rubber is completely destroyed. So while I'm in here, I'm gonna take that motor mount out and try to get a new one. I think there's some aftermarket ones out there for it, which is good, because obviously there's not much available for this car, but I went online and searched and I found some that look exactly the same, that say they fit the 3.6 liter on this version of car, but I'm gonna pull that also in a minute and replace it. All right, so we got the top bolt out of the motor mount. And if you're lazy like me and you don't like going underneath cars, bungee out everything out of your way. And I think I should be able to get to those bottom 3 bolts. Nope, I think I wasn't recording. All right, I got the motor man out. It was completely destroyed. Now, could I have just done this and not told anyone and left it in there? Yeah, probably. But whenever I fix cars like this, I like to make sure that it's done right. Anything obviously that needs to be fixed, I always fix it. I like to fix them as if I'm giving them to one of my family members, you know, so there's no obviously faulty parts in the car. So if I'm not happy with it, if I wouldn't drive it, I don't typically flip it. Or if I do, I will make sure it's well known any additional issues that should be addressed. And probably while I'm in here, I'm gonna yank these spark plugs and see how they look. I know this car is running a little rough, and I wanna see, I may even check compression on all the cylinders, make sure everything's looking good. And then, yeah, we'll get this thing back together. There it goes. All right, well, you gotta go on eBay. I found a cross-reference. They don't make any G6 manual transmission parts, but a lot of the GM stuff had the same diameter. So I was able to find an insert. I don't quite have any dies that'll make this work, but first step is to take some grease. And I usually put a little bit of grease around the bushing when I'm going in. I do a real thin coat, especially on this, like this the front lip, the leading edge. And I'll do the same thing when I marked it on the old one so that you know which direction it goes. You want to make sure you have put marks, reference marks on your motor mount when you take the old one off. And that helps you line the new one, because they can only go a certain way. If you put them in the wrong way, the tension is not correct. You don't want them tensioning this way, you want them tensioning this way. So this one, it lines up this. I didn't have any dies that fit perfectly, so I'm going to attempt to push it in with the old motor mount, since the whole center's gutted on this thing. I'm thinking we could probably do this. There you go, one motor mount in. Just about to do this motor mount, and then I realized all these wires are just exposed. All this cheap plastic loom is disintegrated, so I'm gonna do some YouTube magic and re-loom all of this. That's just not safe. And go. Fixed all the loom. Got it all redone. Looks much better. No more exposed wires. Well, this is kind of hard to see, but we'll try to get this motor mount back in here if we can. Son of a bitch. Beautiful. Look at that thing. All right, motor mounts in. Just gotta tighten those up. All right, I got the back bolt tightened up. And then just got these last 3 down here. can remember, I told you I don't like getting under the car if I don't have to. So I will get in an awkward position just to stay above the car. All right, motor mount's tight. All right, I think I'm going to run a compression test on this Pontiac because, yeah, I just like to be safe, make sure it's good. You know, if you also could run a cylinder leak down test, but I typically run these if I know there's an issue, just to find out where the issue is. Is it coming out of the exhaust? Is it coming out of the intake? So you can kind of tell where your internal engine issues are lying. But for now, I think we're just going to run a comp test. I did get all 6 spark plugs from Rock Auto, so we're ready to put those in. But doing a comp test at least will give me peace of mind knowing this engine is in good shape. Yeah, I'll start with the compression test on an easy cylinder. We'll just, if you haven't done this before, you just thread it in the spark plug hole. I usually stick a little bit of grease on the threads, and you can use also anti-seize. This will get the, you don't want the adapter to get stuck in there. Sometimes if you tighten it too much, it'll get stuck in there, and then it's a pain to get out, especially if the spark plugs don't have a lot of access. The neighbor's cat likes to join me on the engine sometimes. He's a good helper. Look at him. You checking out the compression, or what are you doing? Oh no, that's the you don't want it. That's the intake. Don't mess with that. How do you feel about those spark plug wires, Bandit? What happened to your collar? They're gonna think you're a stray. All right, well, now he's done helping. All right, we got the battery in. Let's put the other terminal on, get this cranking. So just a note, in case you haven't done this before, on cars with coil packs, you can just unplug the coil packs, and so you can still typically crank the engine. On this, obviously, it has just one main coil pack. We're going to go in the back and disconnect that so that we're not firing spark to all the spark plugs. You can cause problems if your spark plugs aren't grounded. You don't want you don't want to mess anything up in your car, so the spark can backfire. A lot of times you can just disconnect the coil pack if it's like this with old school spark plugs. That way you're not sending spark to your to every one of your spark plug wires while you're running a compression test. All right. Wow, almost 210. That's great. All right, we just did the second cylinder. It's about 200, so a little lower, but not bad. Still within the range. All right, next cylinder, we're at 208, about the same. Now for the back cylinders, let's see. All right, we're at 205. My battery started going dead, so I threw a charger on it. But we're about 180 on that one. But the battery was slow to turn, so I think that might be a little higher. But we'll do the last cylinder. I think we're all within 10% on each cylinder, so we should be fine. And the last cylinder is at 205. So we're good. And these plugs are coated from the factory, but ask me if I care. Little insurance policy. 5 years from now, you'll be able to take these out. These are tapered seats, so these don't have the crush washer, so you want to torque these properly. And let's get them in. Now, this is a trick. If you ever trying to get plugs into a blind hole, like on the back side of an engine, just grab an old piece of vacuum line that fits tight around the spark plug, and then it'll help you feed it in the back when you can't reach it with like your wrench or your fingers. So give you a little extra feeding room. Get these bad boys in. All right, I went ahead and torqued the last 3 in the back off camera. They were a nightmare. It was not elegant. You did not want to see that on camera. I'm going to take the battery back out. I'm going to get the coolant bottle in and the intake on and fire this up, see how she goes. All right, I got everything hooked up. Got spark plugs. I got the battery charger on. Let's get the hose out. We're going to flush this cooling system a few times, so I'm just going to use hose water for now. Then we'll drain it all and make sure we don't have any issues. Wow, it's running way better. I cranked the wheel left and right, bled the power steering a little bit, and it's a lot less noisy, so that's good. All right, well, it sounds pretty good. We'll pull those codes and see what's up and fill it up with gas, and we'll take it for a test drive. All right, we got her started. We're taking a little cruise around the block. We got check engine light, traction control light, airbag light, but hey, it shifts. 240 horse, that's not bad. It ain't shabby. All right, well, success. We got at least a running and driving car. I'm gonna go put a little bit of gas in it and see where we're at. I flushed the coolant a couple times. I'm running it right now. Still got a bunch of lights on the dash, check engine, traction control, airbag. Check engine says map sensor, so I gotta figure out why that's on. All right, so we're scanning this Pontiac. Make sure you don't click two-door convertible on this one because it's a hardtop, so it's actually other. I found this out the hard way. I couldn't pull up the codes. And we have a check engine light, and we did have a traction control light. Maybe it went away. It looks like we magically got rid of our traction control light, so that's nice. Was that the ECM had a map sensor, so I ordered the map sensor. And on the airbag light, what we have is a passenger, what do they call it? They call it the fault code is a passenger sensor, I think. It's like a passenger occupancy sensor. Invalid serial data on the passenger presence system. So most likely it's either a disconnected passenger weight sensor or something's happening with the passenger occupancy sensor. So we'll get that figured out. But luckily it looks like our traction control light is now off, so we're working there. So that's great news. So I'll get that map sensor replaced and then we'll figure this out. And then we should have no check engine light or airbag light on the dash. Great news. So you can see the problem is the map sensor is actually broken and stuck in the engine right here. See if we can get it out. Okay, I've literally mixed up some two-part epoxy because if I push that piece of the map sensor down in there, I am so screwed. So I've got a stick with two-part epoxy. Hopefully it dries and I can pull it out. Oh my God, wish me luck. Oh my God. Dude, can you believe that fucking worked? Epoxy. Barely held on. All right, we got the new one there, the broken one there. Let's get it in. How ridiculous. All right, so we're in the engine control module. We got the map sensor. Let's clear these codes and see if the check engine light goes off and stays off. All right, it's off. And we got a green light. So we are good. So all we have left is the airbag light. All right, well, I disconnected all the connectors under the seat and took it for a little test drive, and now we have no more lights on the dash. Let's get this thing sold. All right, so we just finished up the Pontiac, and it's sold on eBay for like $22.75, which is pretty phenomenal. It's heading to Colorado as we speak. And I'm going to throw up a screenshot right now of the winning bid just to show you. And so with that profit, it's about $100 in parts. I think the map sensor and the spark plugs and whatever else I bought, windshield washer, bottle cap, and a couple other things. It's like $110. I won't break down the numbers, but we made a profit of $1,600 on this car. So it's fantastic. I just picked up another one. And hey, bud, what do you think about that car, the orange one?
So it was like dirty and cobwebby, and there was money in there somehow, but the money was pretty dirty, so I had to clean it up. But it was still cobwebby. Maybe if it was a little more cleaning, lower money, but it was pretty good overall, like all time. Okay? Okay, viewers.
You heard it here. It was pretty good overall and a little cobwebby. But you know, I don't argue with $1,600. I just picked up another flip, so stay tuned for that video. We're gonna edit it right about the time this video comes out. So thanks for being patient with us on this. I've been going through some personal stuff, finishing up these cars has been put on the back burner a little bit, but we'll get back in the game and we will be flipping more to come. What do you think, buddy?
It was good, and make sure to like and subscribe, bro.
Yeah, you heard the man. All right, see you on the next one.
Yeah.